Hello, BookTube. I've got a tiny bit of mail for you on a gorgeous, beautiful Thursday. Oh my God. These days, I know there'll be payment for them. I don't know if it'll be an East Coast hurricane or a prolonged September heat wave, but these days here in Boston are picture postcard perfect. Dry and beautiful and bright, cool in the mornings, cool overnight, just lovely. Perfect for dog walking. The only problem with dog walking is that not all the bugs are dead. The bugs have not outlived their summer lifespans. Once that isn't much of an impediment, but once that's no longer true in just a few weeks, then anywhere will be fair game without a certain someone coming back covered in ticks. But I have a little mail on a beautiful day where I have given more and more serious thought to the book Ragnarok that is impending here at Hyde Cottage. I am going to have a book Ragnarok where I severely downsize the length, the amount of my print and paper books. I have too many print and paper books. It's a day in which half of the time has been spent giving lots and lots of thought to that, but on which also I encountered a bookcase. Out on the dog walk, I encountered a perfectly nice waist-high bookcase. And I don't have the ability to leave such things behind. I just don't. I don't have the ability to leave them behind. Especially when they're so close, when they're within walking distance of the front door, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Even though this place has 35 bookcases, I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave it behind. So I lugged it here, even though I am planning on needing fewer bookcases, not needing more. Nevertheless, we have a couple of books in the mail. So we'll see what we have here. This first one is personally privately taped. So I'm pretty sure it's from one of you, which means it is probably a violation of rule number one. Rule number one on this channel, for all of you who are new to the channel, believe it or not, despite recent events, rule number one on this channel is do not ask me a have you read question. For those of you who are new to the channel, a have you read question is where you encounter a BookTube channel that with videos that are being made by someone who's older than your grandparents and who has already told you that he has lived a thoroughly literary life almost to the exclusion of all else for a very, very, very long time. Somebody who reads more than 120 pages an hour, who does it for more than 10 hours every day, and who's done that day in and day out for longer than your parents have been alive. That if you encounter a BookTube channel by a person like that, don't ask that person if they've ever read Herman Melville. Don't do it. You can do it all you want to anybody else, but on this channel, I would appreciate it if you would not ask me dumb have you read questions. Not self-evident ones. Not have you ever read Herodotus. And the penumbra for self-evident should be pretty generous when... Anyway. That is not rule number one on this channel. Rule number one on this channel is don't send me a book. Which you'd think, considering all the books that I have, would not be a rule, but it is. The chances of you picking a book that I'm going to want are minuscule. And I'm utterly unsentimental on this point. Utterly. So if you send me a book and I don't want it, it's gone. It is gone. I'm not going to hold on to it because of you. I'm not going to hold... It's going to be in the next pile going out the back door. I've had that happen in real life. Many, many times before there was such a thing as YouTube. I had that happen many times where it was my rule number one in personal life as well. Kindly don't give me a book. No matter the occasion, no matter how much you love it, kindly don't do it. I am an extremely experienced reader of extremely long duration. So I'm not going to want a book that you give me, and I'm not going to keep a book I don't want. Long before there was a YouTube, long before there was an internet, I would tell people, if you want really bad to be the cause of me getting a new to me book that I love, get me credit at the Brattle Bookshop. And that will be fine. I will find plenty there. Your gift will go a long way, and it will make me extremely happy. But don't hand me a book. And yet, it happened endlessly. Just endlessly. Relatives of friends, when Christmas came around or one of my quarterly birthdays, they would hand me a package that was a gift-wrapped book, and I knew that it was. And many is the time, I didn't know most of these people well enough to rake them over the coals, but many was the time where I wanted to say, do I have to open this? Do I have to do this? Do I have to fake surprise or enjoyment in front of you? Do I have to do that? And if I knew the person, then I would just tell them, this is obviously wrapped in a new bookstore. I'm not going to open it. Take it back to the new bookstore and get your money back. And occasionally it even got awkward. There was one time one old codger of a friend here in Boston who's now dead, who was a big Charles Dickens fan, and he knew that I wasn't. We'd had many, many conversations on the subject where he would quote whole passages from Dickens and say how much he loved it and say, gee, I just don't know why this stuff doesn't work for you. I don't know why you're not a fan of Dickens. And I would say, yeah, well, you get to a certain point, you've given an author 1,000,000 tries, and you just realize they're not for you, whether they're good or bad. And one year, he gave me an old, pretty, hardcover edition of Oliver Twist. I just gaped at him. He said, oh, this ought to change your mind. Like I had never encountered Oliver Twist before. Like I had never thought about why I don't like Dickens before. Like we'd never had conversations on that very subject. It's just the tyranny of the gift giver, which I hate. I hate so much the tyranny of the gift giver, where they not only want to override your own will with a gift, but then they want to control their gift after they've given it to you. So I said, well, Bill, I don't really know why you did this, but you obviously went to trouble about it. Thank you for that. And then he was at the shop weeks later when it was part of the pile of books that I brought in for store credit. And he seemed all affronted, and I said to him, I don't know what you were expecting. I am not going to keep a book that I don't want. And you knew ahead of time I didn't want this. So what is this whole process that we're doing? Fortunately, mostly I have purged that, but of course back then, I had no idea that YouTube was going to happen or that BookTube was going to be part of my future, that I was going to be online, an online person, known to strangers. I had no idea of that. So I need to reinforce it over and over again. I haven't looked at the book yet, but I'm not forgetting. I have to reinforce it over and over again. The fact that some book has meant a lot to you does not mean it's going to mean a lot to me. And I don't have room here for books that mean a lot to other people. And the fact that you think a book is obscure does not mean that it is. I have been... Anyway, you get the point. It's a bad idea to send me a book, unless you do what a handful of people that watch this channel do, which is to take pictures and send them to me. Send me the pictures and say, hey, this made me think of you. I haven't watched all 8,500 videos. I don't know if you have this book or if you like it. But if you don't, I've got a copy and be happy to send it to you. Well, if we could get more of that happening, that would be great. Absolutely great. Provided you all understand what a couple of recent correspondents seem to have not understood, which is that when you are soliciting my opinion on a subject, or when you are asking me whether or not you can send me a book, or whether or not you want a book of mine, it always helps to grease the wheels a little. And of course, on this channel, I don't mean money. I mean pictures of your pets. It always helps to grease the wheels a little. I have a burgeoning folder on my desktop of innumerable pictures of dogs in all states and ages. I love them. They're all my babies. I have to admit, especially the really old ones, because that not only speaks well of them, they become angels, purged of everything negative, as you know, if you ever had an old dog. It also speaks well of you, because plenty of those dogs, they reach that age and they get just dumped. But also, that folder also contains plenty of pictures of cats, and more than a few pictures of rats and hamsters and guinea pigs. But you want to do that. You want to send me pictures or descriptions of the book that you have in mind to send. Well, fine. If I say yes, then. But anyway, let's see what this is, because this was personally wrapped. So this has got to come... Yeah, this came from... Oh, is this what I think it is? Oh my God, it is. Let me read this little note here. Oh my God, okay, this is from a viewer of this channel. Oh, this could start a trend. This is a modern library paperback of The Eternal Husband and Other Stories by Dostoevsky, translated by Peviar and Volkonsky, the fabulous New Yorker profiled translation team of Peviar and Volkonsky. I do not have this, and as the writer of the note clarifies, this is because I don't have much Dostoevsky. I recently realized. On a Steve stream, I think one of you went out of your way to give me a classic Austin Powers, a classic Simpsons, because I didn't have the details of Dostoevsky's short stories at my fingertips. And that, of course, shamed me, and it sent me roaming around my bookshelf saying, I'll teach them. But it turned out I don't have much Dostoevsky in print and paper format. Almost nothing. And this person has taken it upon themselves to try to start to correct that by sending a collection of short stories. By a translation team I don't particularly like, but that's okay. That's perfectly okay. And now I'm wondering if this is something I should encourage. Because in addition to realizing, shamefacedly realizing I don't have much short Dostoevsky, I also realized that maybe I should give this author another reread. It's been apparently too long, since the details are no longer at my fingertips except for the major novels. Should I do that? And if I do that, should I enlist you? All right. Next time you go to your library book sale, wherever you are, next time you go to your library book sale, and you go to the little bookcase of classics, if there's Dostoevsky there, feel free to take pictures. Or if it's dirt cheap, if the stuff is dirt cheap, like fill a bag cheap, then grab it all and then take pictures when you're home and send those to me. Maybe you all should be the way that I beef up my Dostoevsky collection in preparation of a giant read-through. The only things you don't need to worry about are Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, and maybe The Idiot as well. But especially Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, since I am easily a big enough egotist so that I am not going to read or reread an English language translation by anybody else if my name is printed on an English language translation. And for the Michael Katz translation of Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, I am right there on the dust jacket. So I'm not going to try. I'm not going to bother with any other translation. But anything else, especially collections of shorter works, let's start looking for those at your Goodwill, your charity shop, your local library sale. Start looking for those. Start making a mental note. Dostoevsky for Steve Stiesky. It would be great. But this is great. This is fantastic. I did not have this, so of course I want to keep the note as a bookmark. But that is great. All right. Okay, so that was a violation of rule number 1, but that's okay. Apparently I need Dostoevsky. I do not want the multi-volume Frank biography. And I don't need other editions of Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov. I have the Penguins of both, and I also have the new Michael Katz translations of both. But everything else? What else are you finding? What else is out there that you might be able to find? And then we have a package that's actually from a publisher. So this is not going to break rule number 1. I don't know if I should... well, this channel's never going to reach 19K. That's never going to happen. But I said it would never reach 18K, and there are a lot of new people here. So maybe I should make a rule on this channel about have you read questions, because they are cropping up, and they are a waste of time. They're a waste of everybody's time. Maybe I should do that, but we'll let it go for now. Oh, okay, great. All right, this is the finished copy of... This comes out on September 3rd. That is just a week away. That is amazing. It's just 10 days away. This is the finished copy of Stephen Budiansky's book, A Day in September, about the Battle of Antietam. Which, I think in the time between when we saw the advance copy and now, this has got a starred review from Kirkus, and that was not me. And that's a big deal, because the trade journals all have dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews every single week, but the starred reviews are entirely the discretion of the reviewer. The trade journal does not have a quota. They can't enforce a quota. A starred review for Booklist or Publishers Weekly or Kirkus is one where the reviewer says, well, I'll take my money, which is a fixed amount for any review, and my review is not signed, so no one knows or is keeping track of what I love and don't love. But this book was exceptional, so I'd like to give it a star. Some reviewers, and myself included, are very chary about that. They don't just dish those out like candy. So a starred review is a really good thing. That is it's a little thing, but it's maybe something that a lot of readers won't know, is that it's not coercible. It's not something the author can pay for. But anyway, let's see what we have here. On September 17th, 1862, the Confederate and Union armies clashed near Sharpsburg, Maryland. The battle became the single most lethal day in American history. More than 20,000 Americans were killed, injured, captured, or went missing. It marked a crucial turning point in the war, precipitating the Emancipation Proclamation and the descent of the Confederacy into total defeat. Even in Europe, Karl Marx, oh my God, I can't escape this guy. He haunts my days and my nights. Karl Marx observed that the battle, quote, decided the fate of the American Civil War. And in this book, the celebrated historian and biographer Stephen Budiansky delivers a panoramic account of this fierce and gory battle and reveals its overlooked significance. Antietam permanently altered warfare and medicine, sparked emancipation, challenged the ideals of Victorian womanhood, and ushered in a new pragmatism and cynicism that questioned the revolutionary and utopian ideologies of post-revolutionary America. And Budiansky tells this story through 9 key figures. Obviously, Robert E. Lee and George McClellan are going to be 2 of those. I wonder if we're told who the other figures are. Robert E. Lee and George McClellan are the first one. Then Jacob Copps, Jonathan Letterman, Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., James Longstreet, Alexander Gardner, Clara Barton, and then finally Abraham Lincoln. Well, I think if you're a BookTube watcher, if you're a veteran BookTube viewer, you're probably thinking the same thing that I am, which is that this has got to wing its way out to Iowa. This has got to make its way to the Rutenberg Library. So yeah, I will get about that. I don't know when my next trip to the post office will be, because every time I go to a post office, I seem to get gravitationally drawn to the Brattle Bookshop, which I do not need to go to, even though I now have a new bookcase. I do not need more books. I need fewer books. I need especially to slim down on books before October, when I am expecting to get 200 books in October. Not new copies, not advanced copies, but older books. 200 of them. Probably in 1 week. I know these are all heavy-handed hints, as if you all can't see right through me. You know exactly what's coming in October. But nevertheless, I feel certain, I believe that October's I don't even know what you would call it. October's gigantic splurge on books will be the last one this year. I feel certain of that. So do I slim down the print and paper book collection before then? Or do I all just let it hang fire for a month and then add those 200 and then do a massive slim down before the end of the year? I don't know which will work. I don't know which I'll do. But one of each now. I've got a new book on the Battle of Antietam. Always fun to read about. It is a fascinating battle. And a collection of Dostoevsky short stories. This is a modern library paperback. Very nice. Very nice of the sender. But, of course, Dostoevsky's short stories, novellas, the other novels, the ones that aren't the Crime and Punishment of the Brothers Karamazov, those appeared in all kinds of formats. So maybe the sender of this book is the pebble that starts an avalanche. Maybe you go hunting for Dostoevsky. Maybe you do that. Short stories, larger collections of short stories, the other novels in all kinds of translations and all kinds of editions. Your used bookstores, your charity shops, your library sales. Don't buy new, of course. I want you to spend chicken feed. And you don't have to spend, depending on the turnover of your shop, you don't have to spend anything. You can send pictures instead, and then I can decide. I always say, I reflexively on this channel say, well, if you find a copy, buy it, because my own used bookstore has insane turnover. So if you don't buy the copy right then, it might be gone. It stands a very good chance of being gone the next time you get there. That's not true for the rest of you. But maybe this is a trend on this book, on this channel here. Maybe in order to solve my Dostoevsky deficit, my deficit-ski, maybe I need your help. I don't know. But anyway, that's the mail for today. Very interesting stuff. I thought this very, very interesting, but unusual. This Dostoevsky volume obviously needs to go into quick rotation. I don't think I'm going to do a systematic reread of Dostoevsky. That would be enormous. That would be an enormous undertaking. I'm already doing one of those right now. Those of you who don't, maybe new to this channel, a systematic reread, if I do that for an author, is drastically different than just revisiting an author, which is what I originally had in mind for Dostoevsky. Just revisiting an author means that I gather up some of their work, reread a lot of it, get the old scent back, maybe read some stuff that I haven't read before. A systematic reread is much different than that, and it would, for Dostoevsky, it would be a huge undertaking that I'm not sure I want to do. I don't think I like him enough to do that. But then again, anyway, that's the mail for today. Tiny little bit, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.